would like to introduce to you my today's guest. This is Alex. Alex, my eldest son. He is actually a very great example of a child who was brought to Canada when he was 11 years old. And he had that good chance to try different types of schools. He has been to Catholic, public, and private schools. Today, he is going to share with us his experience. So, hello, Alex. My first question to you, could you please introduce yourself, what you do right now?
Well, I'd like to appreciate for having me here. It's certainly a pleasure. I'm a big fan of your videos on YouTube. What I am is a student at Ivy Business School, one of the most prestigious business schools in Canada. I am a researcher, so I like to write a lot about technology, entrepreneurship, and also I am an entrepreneur, and currently I'm starting my own venture in technology.
So Alex, you were brought to Canada when you were 11 years old, and your first school was St. Anne. Could you please share with us your first experience when you first came to Canadian school?
Sure. Well, to understand the public, or I guess Catholic system, you have to really understand the government it's in. So there are three types of educations you can get here in terms of schools. So public, private, and Catholic. So to understand public school, you have to understand that it was derived from the USA, U.S. Educational system, and it was developed in the industrial era when people started to earn serious money, and government said, what are we going to do with all these people? They need to be educated. And so the public system is designed to make you a good citizen. Where Catholic school differs is that it designs you to be a good person. So there are two dimensions there. And of course, private school is more focused on, I would say, giving more attention to the person, making sure, customizing, I guess, the educational experience.
So I guess as a parent, like your father and I, we were absolutely right to have chosen the school to make you a good person.
St. Anne certainly has played a role in that, although I've been there only for 1 year. It was an experience more of a deep dive into the Canadian culture, I suppose, and it was primarily an Italian school, and so I had the opportunity to meet wonderful people from various cultures, but primarily from Italians.
And what was your biggest challenge in that school?
Well, seeing as it was my first year in a different country, it was definitely adapting to the new culture and
right.
I guess learning the ropes. And so what I found is that European system education is slightly different from Canadian in that it is more rigorous. The European system is a lot more rigorous than Canadian in the first couple of years of education, and then that's why when I came to Canada, I actually had to skip a grade. So I went into grade 8 instead of grade 7, and for me it was slightly easier because people still used calculators to calculate stuff, and in Ukraine we didn't do that. So a little less rigorous than I would say the global standard is, but it sure does pick up around high school and university.
And being a student in Catholic school, does it mean that you are saying prayers all day long?
Well, it is called Catholic school for a reason. You do certainly have a class that's called religion, and you do study Christian beliefs. But Catholic school is not much more than just a way to teach you to be a good person. And a good person, to be a good person, is pretty much universal. If you look at it, most people in the world agree that in order to be good, there are certain things you have and have not to be. You have to do and not do, and so that means differentiate between evil and good, and teaching how to follow the ethics or commonly accepted ethics. So sure, there was a Christian or Catholic aspect of it, but mostly it was just teaching the people how to be good people.
I just wanted to make a remark here that Canada is very multicultural. That's why all the schools, and including the Catholic schools, they are very accepting and tolerating to all the religions and confessions. So, Alex, your next school was Lawrence Park Collegiate Institute. It was a high school, highly ranked in the heart of Toronto, with high standards. So could you share your experience? What is the difference between Catholic school that you've been to, and then you came to Lawrence Park, which is public school? So what is the main difference? What were your challenges?
Sure. So the main difference between St. Anne and Lawrence Park Collegiate Institute, or LPCI for short, is that St. Anne was a middle school, so obviously the program is a bit less rigorous than high school. Certainly a lot less rigorous by European standards. I actually had to skip a grade to I guess challenge myself adequately in St. Anne. So LPCI is a high school, and it's considered a step above middle school in that the program is a lot more rigorous. If St. Anne was primarily Italian, because it was an Italian neighborhood, LPCI, or Lawrence Park Collegiate Institute, was primarily mixed, so there was a lot of multiculturalism going on there. And of course, there are a lot more opportunities to explore your interests because the program is a lot less strict in the oversight. You have a lot more leeway with the curriculum you want to pick, and of course, the clubs are a little more extensive because the system is designed to follow the development of a person, in that during this age of high school, usually people explore interests, and so therefore there are a lot more opportunities to build your leadership skills and explore your interests.
Were you challenged enough?
I would say I was adequately challenged. Of course, I still had the English barrier. It was difficult to, I guess, participate in the regular English classes, but of course, anything can be overcome with hard work. And that's what I did. I worked more than my peers.
I understand that. So the next school that you were accepted was the York School.
Yeah.
And I would like also to tell that the York School was not the last school that you've been to. The next was St. Mike's. So the York School and St. Mike's College School are two schools that represent private education. So can you tell us what is the difference between public education and private education from your experience, and plus what was the difference between the York School and St. Michael's School? Because every private and public school has its specialty, right? So could you please talk about that?
Of course. So the main difference between private and public school is that, of course, the obvious aspect of it is that private school you have to pay for your education. But of course that trickles down in the fact that private schools have a lot more resources to provide to their children, and therefore a lot more opportunities that students can explore. For example, you have greater facilities. At St. Michael's we had a giant football field, we had a soccer ring, we even had a swimming pool. And so there are a lot more facilities in that regard. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more, teachers who are willing to customize their delivery towards the student, because every student has their own learning style, and so to accommodate to each will be very impractical from a public school point of view. But with private school, it's a lot more possible because they do have the resources, and so that's primarily the difference. Where York School and St. Michael's differs is that St. Michael's, of course, is a Catholic school. York School itself is an international baccalaureate, which is a very rigorous program that a lot of gifted children go into. So York School, so what you will have to do is they speed up the program a bit in the high school, and then the last year, which is grade 12, is the first year of university. So really you get a head start. Once you get to university, you've already done your first year, and so you can explore a lot more interests that you could be interested in, and so that usually is an advantage that people choose to take.
I just wanted to make a little remark about the York School. York School offers international baccalaureate. This is an advanced program which opens a lot of doors to highly ranked worldwide recognized universities. So plus your school is a highly technological school. But Alex didn't stay at the York School, he went to St. Michael's School. So St. Michael's School offered him the opportunity to explore more. Can you please share with us your experience with St. Michael's School, and when was the moment that you decided to be in business and you saw yourself as an entrepreneur?
Well, I always saw myself as a businessman, provided that my parents, you, and many generations before me have been business inclined. So really, the basics of it has always been a part of me. But of course, going into St. Michael's, I have also been able to explore a lot of clubs and interests and leadership opportunities that were very much interesting to me. I've been part of business clubs, investment clubs, and even chess clubs, and that really played really well for my development in terms of being able to see things from different perspectives at various times. And so being part of these clubs actually allowed me to develop those skills and attain certain achievements that I'm quite proud of. So for example, in St. Michael's, I achieved Ontario chess champion, provincial chess champion, and so that took quite a lot of work. But I always explored the opportunities of business, and being in this environment, being in a business environment, being in business class, accounting class, I always felt it was kind of related to me. And so that's why I decided to pursue the career of a businessman.
Nice. I also would like you to mention your experience being a Harvard student.
So around grade 10, students get a lot of leeway in terms of the course load they choose to have. There's a lot of electives that people can choose to pursue their interests. So you have a variety of sciences where there is biology, chemistry, and physics. Then you have a variety of business fields you have to choose to go through. And so there's a lot of decisions that have to be made at that point. And I wanted to make sure that I have make the right decision for me. And so that kind of translates well into how I transition into university. So I decided to go a little bit in the future and actually visit the university experience for myself to know what is right for me. And so Harvard, I was very fortunate to be accepted to Harvard and Cornell for 8 weeks, to be 8 weeks at each, to take 2 courses at each place. So in Harvard, I took microeconomics and macroeconomics, globalization, global justice, and in Cornell, I took leadership course and as well macroeconomics. And that kind of really gave me a perspective on the educational career I want to have in terms of, or I guess life career I want to have in terms of economics and business, and help me structure my curriculum to customize it to my interests.
And I guess it gave you a couple of credits to add to your university application.
It sure did. So university admissions, it's a very competitive environment, but they are very much looking for a person who can flourish in their environment. And university environment is, as I said, very competitive, and so not everybody can make it. And so they're looking for signs of people who have, I guess, have the potential to do that. And showing that you have those credits and showing you have that experience certainly has been one of the major, I guess, contributors to my success in acceptance to the Ivy Business School.
So how many universities you applied to?
I applied to around 5 in Canada. And out of those 5, I was accepted to 4. And most of them were primarily business universities. As I mentioned, it is a passion of mine. And the universities I applied to were the likes of York University, Schulich School of Business, Queen's University, Smith School of Business, University of Toronto, which is one of the world's renowned universities for engineering. But I applied for the business program in Robin Commerce, and also Western Ivy Business School, which is, as it happens to be, Canada's most, I guess, prestigious university.
I understand. So your results are pretty much impressive, and I think that I can, as a parent, I can be proud of my son growing from a newcomer to a successful student and hopefully to a successful man in this environment. Thank you for coming to my interview. Thank you for your time, and I hope we will see you in my next videos.
My pleasure.
If you are relocating to Toronto and you have questions about private schools in Toronto or any other questions about living here, please contact me for a consultation. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit that bell button to be notified each time I post a new video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon on my YouTube channel.